Father Miller here. Welcome back to the Nerd Father. I wanted to do a review video today of the new movie that just came out on Blu-ray yesterday, Greenland. This was a movie that I ended up watching twice because I was really excited for this movie, and I started watching it before Odin's movie blogs stream last night. And as I told him, I was about a half hour into it, and I was just so excited. I was enjoying the film, but as it neared its end, hated it. And I'm trying to do this with some of the notes that I've taken, so I'm going to be looking down a lot. But anyway, I'm a fan of disaster films. I love disaster films, end of the world films. There's only a few that are really a few examples that are a true end of the world movie where nobody survives. And the first would be 1959's On the Beach with Gregory Peck, Ava Gardner. Fred Astaire was in it, and so was Anthony Perkins in one of his earliest roles. It was a good movie. It was basically an American sub that survived the after effects of World War III, and the Earth is basically a nuclear wasteland. The only place that's livable is in Australia, so they go down there, and it's only a matter of time before the fallout hits Australia and kills everybody. So this is one of those movies where nobody lives at the end. So a true end of the world movie. Then you also have Dr. Strangelove. Now, when I was doing this video, I was debating whether this was a total end of the world movie, but I had to remember at the major thing on this is that there's a doomsday device that's going to make the Earth unlivable, and I'm not going to give the ending away, but I think that there has to be some survivors anyway. But if you haven't seen Dr. Strangelove, awesome movie. It's one of my favorites. It's one of those movies I wish I could go back and watch for the very first time, not knowing anything about how the movie's going to play out. There was a movie in 2012, Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. This was a small independent film with Steve Carell from The Office and Keira Knightley. I greatly enjoyed it. I saw it when it came out in the theater because, again, I like end of the world movies. And this was a really good movie about two people that find true love in the final hours of the Earth. So then you have 2012's film, or 2011 film from Lars von Trier, I believe it's pronounced. And it has a good cast. I mean, it has Kristen Dunst and Kiefer Sutherland. Melon Colony. Basically, this is about a rogue planet that's about to hit the Earth and the lead up to it. It's more of a weird movie. I've seen it maybe once or twice, and I still don't totally get it. I mean, it's one of those, as you see, it has the palms, so it's kind of one of those fancy movies, I guess you could say. You have 2009's Knowing, which is not a good movie, but I enjoyed it. I mean, it's one of those movies I describe as being craptastic. It does have... It's not a total end of the world movie, even though the Earth is destroyed, because there are a few survivors, and I'm not going to give that away. It's a weird movie, but like I said, I think the special effects in it were really good, as you can see on the back of the DVD cover here. Now, I also like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, whether you've seen the book, TV show, or the movie. The movie was probably the worst of the three. I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I just bought the book recently, and I've listened to the radio program a number of times. Good show. There's also many good Comet movies. I remember in '98 seeing both Deep Impact with Frodo and, as crazy as it sounds, Armageddon, which had better special effects, but really dumb plot line. But again, it's one of those movies that I love. The space shuttle launching was pretty cool. But again, it's corny. It's craptastic. Then there's the 2013's These Final Hours, which is an Australian film. I think I saw it on Netflix a few years ago. I don't recommend this one, mostly because some of the scenes in it I have a big issue with. There is nudity, which, again, I also have an issue with and I wasn't expecting when I watched this. And then you want to go back to the late 70s, 1979's Meteor with Sean Connery, and you can kind of see in the background how it takes out when the comet or the meteor hits. It hits New York City and it takes out the World Trade Center. But this was a great cast with Sean Connery, Natalie Wood, Carl Madden, and Brian Keith. Great movie. Then, if you want to go really old school, you could go back to 1951's When Worlds Collide. Basically, living up to the title, When Worlds Collide. Planet Destroys Earth. Great movie. It's dated, but I loved it. I bought it on DVD about a year ago. The only downside of the movie is the scenery at the end of the movie is painted. It's not a set. It's just basically a painting that they're in front of. So, but still, I think it was worth the watch. So this now brings us to Greenland. This was supposed to be a movie that came out last fall, but for obvious reasons, we know why it didn't. And it came out on Blu-ray yesterday. I was supposed to get it from Amazon because when I purchased it, I did the advance purchase. It was supposed to be same-day delivery as it's released. Didn't come. As I'm filming this, it's Wednesday. Wednesdays are very busy for me because I have CCD. I have a mass in the evening because of COVID. I can't say that word because, again, YouTube doesn't like it. I have a mass for those that can't come to church on Sundays. And then I have CYO, which is our high school youth program tonight. So I had to watch it yesterday because I wanted to see it and I knew I couldn't do it today. So anyway, this movie was produced by Bruce. I can't even pronounce the last name, but he's the guy that did the John Wick films and the Expendables franchise. I love Wick. I tried getting into the Expendables, but I couldn't. So there's a Comet Clark that's supposed to be coming close to Earth. It's supposed to have a little flyby, but some of the meteors from the comet are supposed to hit Earth. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a major destruction. At least that's what we're told. We have a neighborhood that's getting together to have a party to watch one of the meteors supposed to splash into the ocean, but it never does. And a few seconds later, you hear a big boom outside. Butler goes out to see what it is, and you got birds flying away. And then you see the effects of the shockwave hitting him. And that was pretty cool. And as you can see from the screen here, you have the impact of the meteor that was supposed to hit the ocean. It ended up hitting Tampa and Fort Lauderdale. And I gotta say, the special effects on this was really good. And they said that the shockwave could be felt 1,500 miles away. Now, for some reason, Butler's family is chosen for emergency shelter. There's a great scene where he receives the call telling him where to report. And because of technology, how you can have like the text appearing on the screen of the TV at the same time as you're listening to your phone. Butler's family sees what's happening and they're wondering why is he chosen and not they. Anyway, it turns out that he's an architect, and apparently after an extinction level event there's going to be a need for an architect. More on that later. But there's chaos as they try to get to the shelter, and the major point that happens is Butler's son is diabetic and is on an insulin pump. And it turns out that as they're driving to the set or the airport to be able to catch the flight to the shelter, Butler's son takes out the insulin to get some, or he takes out a bear from his backpack, and as a result of doing it, the insulin gets knocked out. This is going to be a major point because when they get to the airport, they discover that the insulin is back in the car. Butler goes to get it. The wife and the son remain after they get to the checkpoint. But when they are trying to be put on a plane, Butler's wife tells the military person that she can't go yet because Butler had to go get the insulin because the son's diabetic. Well, this is a major thing because apparently nobody with medical conditions are supposed to be sent to the shelters. And it really makes sense because in a world that's supposed to be destroyed, leveled, there's really not going to be any factories to produce medicine, let alone insulin. Even if they survive the comet, again, how long is one going to live without insulin? Now, this is probably one of the biggest sticking points for me of the movie because a few years ago I read this book, 1 Second After, which is it's a trilogy of books focusing on the effects of an EMP that hits a small North Carolina town. I mean, it's a focus on a small North Carolina town, how they deal with an EMP that pretty much takes out most of the United States, the power and everything. This character's daughter has diabetes, like the kid in the movie, and let's just say the kid dies in the book. But for some reason, the kid in the movie lives. Anyway, but, you know, I had to look this up because it says from children with diabetes, you might be able to live 7 to 10 days without insulin. I'm going to kind of spoil it here. They're in the shelter for 9 months. Kid comes out fine. I don't think it works that way. But there's a good cast in this movie. Gerard Butler, Marina Barkarian, I think it is, Sam Shepard, and most surprisingly, I didn't know this until I was listening to the commentary, Roy from The Office. Didn't recognize him. He has a big beard and everything. But the special effects are really good. I loved as how they got closer to the end of the movie. As the comet is getting closer, you could tell by the tint of the sky, it starts to take a reddish tint, which I think is really cool. There was a movie from 1964, the day the Earth caught fire. U.S. and the Soviets set off nuclear explosions at the same time, which sends the Earth hurtling towards the sun. And as the Earth gets a little bit closer to the sun, you can see that the sky starts to turn red. But I liked it. I mean, I liked the special effects. I liked the color. When the big moment of the comet arrives, we're told it's supposed to be 9 miles wide. However, it's the ending that doesn't do it for me. The Butler family arrives at the shelter just seconds before impact, and they huddle together as they comfort each other, and then you hear the noise of the impact, the shock wave, the shaking and everything, and then it goes dark. Now, if the movie had ended there, I think it would have been great. Leave it on a cliffhanger. Did they survive? Did they not survive? There's blackness, there's no words. I would have loved it if it had ended like that. I probably would have gave it 3 stars if it had ended like that. But after a few seconds of darkness, we're then shown the after effects, Chicago, Sydney, Mexico City, Paris. There's still a few structures that are standing. I mean, it kind of looks like Hiroshima in a way, as there's things that did survive. But we were told that there's supposed to be 9,500 mile an hour winds. I can't buy that. And this was supposed to be bigger than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. No way anything would be standing afterwards. No way anything would be, no way that you could tell that maybe people used to live there. The other thing that is that they emerge after 9 months. I don't think that the Earth would be ready to be habited again. When they open the door, they are greeted with destruction, but there's birds flying. There's hope. No, I don't buy it. Watch The Day After, the 1983 ABC movie about nuclear war and the effects on a Kansas town. Watch BBC's Threads. Again, same thing, but taking place in England. They depict nuclear winter. Well, there's no nuclear things happening in this movie, but you have to think with all the dust and stuff that would have been hurled into the atmosphere with the collision, there's no way the Earth's going to be able to return to living on after 9 months, let alone maybe if it's cooled down. Again, I'm thinking of the opening from Armageddon here. But there's a feeling of hope for the future. I don't buy it. Again, you would have to think after going through that they'd been thrown back to the caveman age. So, was it worth it? I don't know. Let's see, my picture's not coming up. That's because that. So, there's the big comet hit and everything. Was it worth it? I think this is one I could have just been content if I rented it from Redbox, watched it and never saw it again. Big gripe I have about this is that it said it came with DVD, Blu-ray, and digital code. Now, I've come to expect when you get a digital code that's either for Vudu or Movies Anywhere, which allows you to choose many of the different streaming services that you can keep a digital copy on. No. It's only available on Apple TV, iTunes. I don't like that. I give it 1 out of 4 stars. It's probably one of those that's best not to think about. Anyway, if you made it through this, I thank you for watching. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you can be notified when there's new videos uploaded. So, till next time, God bless.